So at 10:30 here in New York, there is a fascinating story developing right now in the Middle East, specifically in the country of Lebanon. There are numerous reports moments ago that claim hundreds of Hezbollah members have been seriously injured after the pagers they were using to communicate exploded. Mike Tobin's got more from Tel Aviv to try and tie this together. What do you got now, Mike? Hello.
Well, this is the kind of thing, Bill, that Israel will never confirm, certainly not in the early stages of it. But it's this remarkable development out of Lebanon where as many as 1,000 Hezbollah fighters have suddenly been injured rather seriously. When what we've seen through some of the security video that's coming out so far, the pagers that they were wearing suddenly play an audio message and then explode. Resulting in serious injury. And we're talking again, Reuters news agency is saying that as many as 1,000 people were injured. So it creates this scene where you've got all of the ambulances scrambling all over Beirut and places south of Beirut to try to deal with the overwhelming number of injured that they have right now. These pagers, apparently, according to 3 different security sources who were speaking to the Reuters news agency, were the latest wave of pagers that these Hezbollah operatives were getting, with the belief that this was secure communication, that Israel couldn't tap into whatever they were saying and give up some information. So they were carrying these pagers, apparently, and something came out where you heard this audio signal came out and all of the pagers detonated all at once, which is really a remarkable development, which would minimize collateral damage. It doesn't mean that there is no collateral damage. We're hearing some reports that the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon, an individual named Mojtaba Amani, was among the injured. So you have a very chaotic and dramatic development in Lebanon right now with as many as 1,000 Hezbollah fighters injured, Bill.
So thank you, Mike, for that. Just stand by 1 second. Dana, this is really an intriguing story.
I wanted to ask Mike a question, if you're still there, Mike. Was the ambassador holding one of these pages? Was it on his person?
I don't have that information, but as it stands to reason, you could be standing near someone who had one of these small explosions, presumably on their waist, and be injured by it as well.
Welcome, everyone, to the Hurting Humanity channel. You gotta love the response on the mainstream media about them even pretending like they don't know that the global governments have the ability to do such a thing as to what just occurred to quote-unquote Hezbollah fighters who were injured by exploding pager devices. And you can take the story for what it's worth, and you can believe the story or not. We all know that the mainstream media never gives us actual news. They condition us. However, the news that people should take out of this is the fact that this type of technology actually exists. Now, what they're reporting is that 8 people have died and thousands of people have been injured after pagers exploded across Lebanon. Of course, this is all courtesy of the synagogue of Satan, the only people vicious enough to create this type of technology and use it. And if you think that this technology is in place only to be used against people who are in the military, think again. Do you think that the supposed people who are in the military that they're claiming, or who are in Hezbollah, whatever you want to call it, militia, do you think those are the only, they have their own specific type of pager, that those specific pager? And what do some people think, that the pagers just exploded randomly? Because the story is that, well, I mean, that's a crazy story, right? Fox News is like, whoa, what? Pagers just went off and exploded? And I'll show you the predictive programming in a minute, because I just covered this with a new movie on Amazon called Jackpot, starring Satanist John Cena. And I've shown you some of the other films like The Kingsman, The Cell. These movies have shown you this type of programming, and I'll even get into some of the other stuff that we all talked about last year regarding that emergency alert test that was sent to everyone's phone. Sound a little bit familiar now? Sound a little bit like what we were all warning about a year ago, October 4th specifically, of last year. So the story right now that we're hearing is that 9 people died in the explosion of pager devices, with 2,750 injured and at least 200 in serious condition. And supposedly what occurred is that the devices beeped in these people's pockets. Those who took their phones out, or their devices, their beepers out of their pockets and looked at it, their faces caught fire. And those who left it in their pocket, well, I guess the rest of their body felt some type of an explosion in their pocket or a fire in their pocket. I'll read to you what the mainstream media is reporting. And again, you take it with a grain of salt, but what you need to understand is that this technology is real. It's very, very real. And I doubt these people were carrying pagers on them, okay? Let's keep that in mind. I doubt that they were carrying actual pagers in the year 2024. You want us to believe that Hezbollah is using actual pagers? They probably just don't want you to know that the Mossad has the technology, and so does the CIA, and so do all the intel agencies around the earth. They all have the ability to send a signal and a frequency to your phone, which could cause the same exact result as this. So they're saying pager because, of course, they always want you to think that these groups like Hezbollah are operating in the year 1850, like they're walking around with swords, right? Like they don't have the capability to have actual phones on them. So they use the word pager for that reason, that these pager devices actually all exploded at once. The article that's out there, again, it says at least 8 people are dead. Over 2,750 people were injured after pager devices owned by a large number of workers in various Hezbollah units and institutions exploded on Tuesday. The dead and injured included people who are not members of Hezbollah, such as a 10-year-old girl killed in the eastern village of Saran. According to Hezbollah-owned Al Hahid News, 2 Hezbollah members were also dead. The outlet reported these explosions, the causes of which are still unknown, led to the martyrdom of a girl and 2 brothers and the injury of a large number of people with various injuries. About 200 of the injuries are critical, meaning they need surgery, according to the Lebanese Ministry of Public Health. Most of the injuries were to the face, hand, or abdomen. The Iranian ambassador of Lebanon was among those who had one of the pagers and was injured due to an explosion Tuesday, according to Iranian state TV. So think about that. They're telling us that it's this pager, right? The Lebanon ambassador was one of the people who had one of these types of pagers on them. Why did a 10-year-old girl have one of these types of pagers on them? Highly likely, again, that this is a cellular device that they had on them. And I warned about this a long time ago. I talked about this even last year. Remember, we were all getting slammed for talking about FEMA's October 4th emergency alert that they sent out the signal, right? Think about a lot of the predictive programming we've seen in movies, even recently, like I said, the movie Jackpot, which I'll show you right now, where they've shown you the phone used as a weapon, because the phone can be used as a weapon. And don't forget about the fact that eventually these phones, they want embedded in your body, where they could be able to send signals to you directly underneath your skin, so to speak. Here is some of the predictive programming we've seen over the years with cell phones, and of course, them being able to be activated to do things that sound very similar to this.
I don't know how either. Yeah. We need an urgent phone strike in our position, please. Yes? Give me your phone. Give me your phone.
What is a phone strike?
Let's find out. You got the gun?
I got the gun.
Take that phone!
Amber alert? We get an Amber alert?
Go.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, buddy.
Terrorists, right? It's gotta be terrorists.
Don't use your cell phone.
People are gonna die.
You okay?
They act for the good of the group as a whole. They may be the next stage in human evolution. What's happening now is more than temporary anarchy. It's the start of a war.
Just like the infidel you are. Oh, if you now, you will eat your babies, you will drown.
I didn't expect it to be that effective.
What kind of response are we talking?
100%.
So everyone's been affected, whether they have a SIM card or not.
I can't stop this.
So, of course, then you see what the government has the capability of doing, right? They reveal this stuff in film, but they have the ability to do it, and they've had the ability to do it for a long period of time. They have the ability to do things that you can't even possibly imagine. So, with this story out there about pagers, keep in mind that it's highly unlikely that it's actual pagers, that it's highly likely that it's just a basic cell phone operating probably on a 5G network that they were able to do this. And who is the one who did this? Well, suspicion is immediately falling on Israel's intel services, aka the Mossad. They say the Lebanese government spokesperson said the government sees Israel as responsible for the pager explosions and considers the attacks a violation of Lebanese sovereignty. Hezbollah accused Israel of being responsible for the explosions and said in a statement that it was going to respond. The group said that after an investigation, it places full responsibility on Israel for this criminal aggression that also harms civilians and caused deaths and injuries. And of course it harms civilians because all these wars are really about harming civilians. It's not about harming one another's military. It's a war on civilians that's going on. They say an aide to Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier posted and then deleted a tweet hinting Israel was responsible for the operation. Netanyahu's office has now cautioned government ministers not to speak publicly about the situation for the time being. The Lebanese health minister said 200 people were seriously wounded. Video shared on social media from CCTV across Lebanon showed several of the explosions. Lebanese media outlets reported from hospitals across the country where dozens of wounded people were being treated for injuries to their waist and crotch areas. And of course, others who pulled their phone out of their pocket or may have had it in their hand likely lost their hands. Others probably likely lost their heads if they were holding the phone up to their ear, but they're only going to tell you for now that it was an actual pager. And you may remember I did discuss this in previous videos when I talked about DARPA and their waveform agile radio frequency directed energy, which is called Warden, WARDEN, where DARPA has this, they openly talk about this. This is your government, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, who we allow to have this technology, and then we all just so happen to have cell phones in their pockets. And then as they create more civil unrest and start blurring the lines, which they've already done, but they continue to blur the lines as to who a terrorist is in America and who one isn't, right? And they start saying, well, it's these people out there who are conspiracy theorists, right? And then everybody out there will just be okay with the government themselves sending frequencies and sending all these types of transmissions, these radio frequencies, to phones. This is what this is. And remember, the Bible talks about Satan being the prince of the power of the air. And think about what a role frequencies is playing in our day-to-day lives. You can't see it, can you? You can't see the frequencies coming out of those towers. You can't see the the EMF frequencies that are coming out of your phone or your microwave, right? But if you get an EMF reader and you hold it up, it'll frighten you that you could actually see the amount of radiation you're getting exposed to. But Satan is the prince of the power of the air, and this is the weaponry that the synagogue of Satan themselves are using against people. So I've talked in the past about, you take the stories that come out of the news with a grain of salt because the news is there to manufacture you. This story that is out there, you go to social media and you read some of the stuff that's out there, you see some of the videos because you can see raw videos of actual civilians that have had limbs blown off and things like that. You look at this and you say to yourself, how people out there think that they're actually using pagers and they don't have phones on them in 2024 amidst a war. Like, what are they doing? Going over, they have pagers on them. What are they doing, really? Let's try to talk this out without making it comical. Are they running over to payphones? Are these people in the Lebanon, is Hezbollah running over to a payphone to page somebody else so that they could run to a payphone in the middle of supposed war so that they could page one another to get on the phone and go call me over here. I'll go call. The majority of people listening to this probably don't even know what pagers are. Pagers pre-cell phone. You would just get a buzz to a pager and a phone number would be on it. This goes back to like the 80s, right? And the pager would show the phone number, and then when you saw the phone number on the pager, you would go to the closest phone and you would call that person's number that paged you. And you'd say, hey, you paged me? What's going on, right? Well, I don't think anyone's using that anymore because technically a cell phone now is a pager, right? So, maybe they're using the term loosely because they don't want to scare people off and say 8 dead, thousands injured after cell phones explode across Lebanon, because then people would start saying to themselves, how in the world could cell phones explode? With a battery in a cell phone? Right? That would be the first thing most of these people would think. Oh, a cell phone battery, maybe there was faulty. And then they go, wait a minute, but 2,000 plus people, 3,000 people's cell phones exploded? Oh, wait, they could send a frequency to the phone to cause it to explode? Oh, now I know why so many of those crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists were talking on October 4th last year about that emergency test when everybody's phone was sent a frequency that was vibrating that sounds exactly like this, right? Unreal. When will people wake up to the fact that all this technology that we have gives government control over us? Not just our minds, not just the things that we're thinking about on a day-to-day basis. Literally, you're walking with time bombs on you that the government can activate at any point in time. And that's why I keep saying we need to go backwards now with technology. They lose their grip on people if people decide that they don't want to go forward with technology. They want to go backwards. Then they have to figure out a way to convince you to go forwards, and then it delays this operation. But the more we go forward with tech, the more you see stuff like this, you start saying to yourself, all right, you know what? I don't feel good as it is. I don't think it's mentally healthy to always be on a phone or the internet. Maybe just that alone should get you off a phone. But this here, that's why they won't use the word phone. They'll use the word pager, because they don't want you to realize that they have the ability to do this to regular citizens, right? And then if you start thinking about how the government's been behaving around the earth, specifically treating people who have conservative ideologies, which even though I'm not a Republican and I don't vote, I have those ideologies, right? I'm a Christian, a follower of Christ, I should say, right? That they suddenly have showing they don't want you to speak, they don't want you to go here, they want to criminalize you. Yeah, they won't send those frequencies right to your phone. Give me a break. I thank everybody for being here. Share this video, share this information. Most people out there don't know this. And again, at the very least, if you see a video like this, understand about waveform, agile radio frequency, directed energy, that Warden program that DARPA has. Understand that, and I showed you the predictive programming, even the most recent film that came out, Jackpot, how they use it in comedy, talking about sending they use your phone as a weapon, right? Well, here's the proof for you. It's out there in the open, but it's a pager. Wink, wink. Give me a break. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you and your families as always.